Right. It's Friday. Congratulations. We have officially entered the hero where your backstory is more important than your character. Well, welcome back. Special episode. It's a professional level scam. And honestly, it's some truly elite behavior. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, don't you? Because we turned a trauma dump into a tactical weapon. In the past, if you act like a prick, you had to apologize, right? But now, now you just open your portfolio of past damages. It's like a magic trick. Someone calls you out for being toxic, and poof, you pull out a diagnosis from 2019 or a story about your absent father. And suddenly the accountability vanishes. Amazing, huh? But you're not being honest. You are being untouchable. You've looked at a burning dumpster fire of your own making and convinced yourself it's just a symptom of your journey. Vulnerability has meant to be a bridge. Now it's just a shield. People have learned that if they open up fast enough, deep enough, or loud enough, they can control the room. And if you say that they think they did really hurt you, well, within 10 seconds you are the one comforting them, so... And you know why? Because they have deployed their trauma like a smoke bomb. Again. And then you use your therapy speak to silence people. Oh, I'm not being cold. I'm just honoring my capacity. No. You're just being a coward who can't handle 5 minutes of reality. Come on.
Unfiltered outsider. Unfiltered outsider.
All right. Hello again. And let me start with this because tonight we are on eggshells. I'm not saying that trauma is not real, alright? It is. It's heavy, it fucks people up the ways that takes years to untangle. I know that. But using your 2014 outbreak or your difficult childhood to justify being a piece of shit in 2026, well, that's not healing. It's a lifestyle choice. So, we can talk about that. You know, your past is an explanation, it can be. But it's not an alibi, alright? We have created a culture that rewards the victim more than the survivor. It's become a competition to see who has the messiest mental health. Because apparently the messier you are, well, the less people can expect from you. You've turned your pain into a brand. With a disclaimer that you attach to every interaction so you never have to show up as a functional adult. You walk into a room and before you even say hello, you already sound to everyone that you are fragile. Which is a sophisticated way to say, well, I get to behave wherever I want, so you have to deal with it. Mate, think about the trail of bodies you leave behind while you're busy doing the work. You ignore your friends, you flake on your responsibilities, you treat your partner like an emotional punching bag. And then you wrap it all in a neat little bow of self-care and protecting your peace. You aren't healing, mate. You are just becoming a more sophisticated version of a person who everyone has to walk on eggshells around. You're not building boundaries. You're building a prison and forcing everyone else to pay the rent. And then you want to talk about therapy speak? Well, we can. Because it's the new weapon of choice for the emotionally lazy, Oh, I don't want to have the capacity for this conversation right now. Well, the translation for that is a little bit more like, I'm about to lose this argument because I'm wrong, so I'm going to use the clinical term to shut you up. It's pathetic. You've convinced yourself that being self-aware is the same thing as changing. It is not. Knowing that you are a disaster doesn't make you less of a disaster. It just makes you a disaster with an instruction manual. You're like someone standing in the middle of a crowd room screaming about your open wounds and then get angry if the people get blood on their clothes. You know what? If you bleed on someone because you were bleeding first, guess what? There is still blood on the floor. It's still a mess. And the fact that you have the reason for it doesn't make you any less of a tragedy for a person who has to clean it up. You're not being vulnerable, You're being a liability. You've spent so much time looking in the rearview mirror of what happened to you that you have completely forgotten that you are the one currently behind the wheel, Driving straight into other people's lives. No one horns you a standing ovation for finally admitting you are a mess, while you are standing there refusing to pick up the pieces. And you know what? I realize I haven't properly introduced myself today. Not that it matters. If you have been here since the start, you know the drill. If you're new, welcome to the Splash Zone. I'm Noah, and I'm here to hold the mirror up until you can't stand looking at yourself anymore. So, I see the numbers. I see that you're still listening. Why? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's because you like the sound of my voice, or maybe because you're desperately hoping I'm talking about someone else. It's fine. I accept your presence with the same disdain as a professional athlete accepts a participation trophy. So, you're here, breathing my hair. And you're probably already preparing a list of reasons why your specific situation is the exception to everything I'm saying. Alright. It's cute. Really. That level of dedication to your own PR team. You're not a manipulator, I know. You're just misunderstood. But let's get back to the point. We were talking about how you've turned your history into a weapon. You've spent so much time polishing your scars that you have forgotten they were supposed to be signs of healing, Not your entire personality. You've become an expert at a trauma pivot, Someone asks you for a deadline, pivot for anxiety. Someone asks you to be a better partner, pivot for childhood. It's a flawless rhythmic dance of avoidance. And the most pathetic part, you actually think you're being brave by doing it, right? You think that by speaking your truth, you somehow bought the right to be a dead weight to everyone around you. No, mate. You're just a coward who found a clinical sounding way to stay stuck. You're not doing the work. You're just managing the optics of your own stagnation. And let's look at the fallout of this elite behavior, Because we have reached a point where having a personality is optional, As long as you have a struggle. You don't have to be interesting or kind or reliable, no. You just have to be surviving. It's a race to the bottom where the winner is the person who is the most dysfunctional. But you wanna know the worst part? You have outsourced your conscience to your past, mate. You think that because something bad happened to you, you've earned the right to be a black hole that sucks the energy out of every room you enter. You expect everyone to adjust their frequency to match your static, And that's not community care, That's emotional kidnapping. You use your triggers like a leash of keep people from telling you the truth. You've created a reality where any form of criticism is violence, and any demand for accountability is lack of empathy. Alright, it's a brilliant strategy. Really? If you stay broken forever, maybe nobody can ever ask you to carry your own weight. But here's the reality you're trying so hard to avoid. The world doesn't stop moving just because suddenly you had a flashback to 2014. People will eventually stop walking on eggshells, They will stop asking how you are. But not because they don't care, but because they are exhausted from being your unpaid and voluntary therapist, You're not doing the work if the work never actually changes your behavior. If you're still the same prick you were 3 years ago, just with a better vocabulary, you haven't healed. You've just rebranded your toxicity. Well, it's enough for today. If this made you feel exposed, perfect. Normally that's usually what happens when the shield stops working and you're forced to stand in the rain of your own consequences. But before you go back to your routine of being a professional victim so you don't have to grow up, well, do a world a favor. Think about the last time you got called out, Did you actually listen? Or did you just start reciting your resume of past damages? Were you trying to be understood? Or were you just trying to get away with it? You know the answer. And frankly, so do I. Now for the fun part. I want to see if you're actually capable of an original thought. Go to the Unfiltered Outsider socials at Unfiltered. I want to see one sentence. Not a story, alright? Not a diagnosis. I don't care about your situations. Send me just the excuse you use the most to justify being a prick. Or tell me the exact moment you realize you were using the pain to manipulate the conversation. No context. Raw truth. I promise you're not special. You're just another actor in the same pathetic play. And again, if your immediate reaction is to get defensive and explain why I'm too harsh, congratulations. You just proven my entire point one last time. You're doing it right now. How does it feel? So, next episode we are doing this again. More behavior, more human nonsense. So, subscribe or follow or don't. I'm not your father, but don't walk away pretending you're above any of these, alright? See you next time. Or don't. You will keep using your pen as a free pass either way, so... And for those of you still wondering why are people like this, well, maybe it's because it's easy to be broke than it's to be responsible. Uninfluenced, unpaid, unfiltered, I'm Jackman, and this is the Unfiltered Outsider.
Unfiltered outsider. Unfiltered outsider.